Hey guys, I know it's been a while since I have posted a video, so excuse me. I am going to start a series that I've been meaning to do. I think I'm going to call it "Why I Love This Album." I'm going to start first with, in this video, Alice in Chains Unplugged, which I also have had on CD for years and as well as DVD. So that goes to show that this is definitely a favorite album of mine. And for those of you that don't know, Unplugged was a series that they did on MTV where they would get artists to perform their songs, for the most part, unplugged, all acoustic, Nirvana being an act that did not really do that. Though they were done acoustically, he had like reverb pedals and such on there. But with this, why I feel like this is such an important album overall, there was a part between a couple of songs where Lane's like, this is the best performance we've had in 2 years. And then a friend of theirs, Scotty Olson, that they had playing with him at that show as an extra guitarist, he's like, Lane, it's the first show, or it's the only show we've done in 2 years. He's like, well, it's still the best, which I thought was great. And the reason they hadn't really been performing at that point is Lane had started to get hard into heroin by that point, to the point where they'd stopped performing. He had also, this was after they had recorded their third album, or a full-length album, which was self-titled, oftentimes known as the Dog Album or the Tripod Album because it had a three-legged dog on the cover. And it was the last album they did with Lane. He ended up passing in 2002, and no one saw him for the better part of like the last 3 or 4 years of his life because he had become basically a recluse. And but on this, there's 13 tracks. It starts out with the song Nutshell, which in my opinion is probably the best song they've ever done. It starts out where Jerry comes out, he sits down, he starts playing the opening part, and then I think it's either Sean or Mike, one of the two, walks out, and they start playing, and a third member starts playing, and then Lane comes out and starts singing, and the crowd goes nuts. It's such a dark and depressing song, but then again, a lot of their music is absolutely beautiful. And it goes into Brother, which is a song that Jerry wrote as kind of like an ode to his brother, because if I remember correctly, the story behind that song was that Jerry and his brother were separated, and the divorce, his dad, I think, had him primarily, and his mom had his brother. So then when they would go and do the switching for custody, and he'd go with his mom, his brother then would go with his dad, and so they didn't get to see each other as much, and he wishes he could have had like a stronger relationship with his brother. And then it goes into the song No Excuses, which, if I remember correctly, was their biggest hit. I think it was the first number one. It was off of the EP Jar Flies originally, which is where Nutshell came from. But it was their first number one, I believe, and I think it was their only number one until Check My Brain, which was a single off of their 2009 album Black Gives Way to Blue, which is the first album under William Duvall. And then it goes into Sledge Factory, which is, as the name states, it's a very sludgy, grungy, dirty, murky song. It's great, and surprisingly turns out really well acoustically. Then they go into Down in a Hole, another very depressing song that's basically you're down and out, and you don't really see a way of coming back out of that. And from there, it goes into Angry Chair, which they do a good job, and they kick into Rooster. Harmonies are phenomenal in that song. I forget between which two songs it is on this album. I'd have to go back and rewatch or listen to it. And that's when Lane's like, and now we're going to cut to an LL Cool J video. And then Mike starts playing the bass riff for Enter Sandman, which was kind of a shot at Metallica at that point. They're actually friends with Metallica, but that's when they started to do their whole sellout thing. It won't really come through on here, but it's written on Mike's bass. It's still hard to see on there. He has written, "Friends don't let friends get friends haircuts," because that's when Metallica, they changed their style. They they all got the haircuts and went from the long hair to like the cleaner look, and yeah. But then it goes from back to where I was at. It goes from "Got Me Wrong" to "Heaven Beside You," another great song, which is off of their third album. It goes into "Wood," which the bass line still comes through incredibly well on the unplugged version. Then they go into "Frogs" off of the third album, which is another like darker, heavier song. And I really, really like how it turned out. The atmosphere on this is great, and I know I'll get a lot of hate for it, but I feel like this is a better unplugged show than the Nirvana one. The best thing about the Nirvana one is that the covers on there. They covered Meat Puppets, they covered Leadbelly, they covered Bowie's "Man Who Sold the World," which turned out to be a phenomenal cover. But after "Frogs," they go into "Over Now," which made perfect sense as a closer, given the title. And then after they finish "Over Now," you hear someone crowd go, "Boo!" And Lane's like, "Hey, fuck you, man." And it was honestly kind of funny. So they decided to do one more song, which they weren't sure that they were originally going to do because Jerry was starting to write it, and Lane's like, "I want to write the lyrics on that." But Lane never really came up with the lyrics. He was having trouble with it, so Jerry ended up writing it. I guess like they only rehearsed it like the day before or for the rehearsal for that. So it was like the only time that it ever got released, and it was a song called "Killer Is Me," which was actually really good. I would have liked to have seen how it would have turned out at a studio recording, but honestly I think the unplugged version is actually really good too. This is, I feel like, a must listen to for people, because yeah, you've got your heavier stuff on their studio albums from Facelift and Dirt and self-titled for this era of Alice in Chains, but then you also hit the acoustic stuff from Sap and Jarflies, where Jarflies was the first acoustic, or the first EP to ever go to #1 on the charts, which is an incredible feat in itself, and it's honestly incredible from top to bottom. I'm not a huge fan of the song "Swing on This," but the bass line on it's fantastic. But I digress, unrelated kind of to this. This is actually a great performance that I think everyone needs to listen to, and especially needs to watch, because I feel like you truly get the vibe from it when you watch it, because I'll show the picture on the back here on cover. It's just got a really cool, like, dark, like, churchy vibe with the candles, which I felt really fit them. And overall, I always come back to this album. Even if I listen to their studio albums, which I do a lot, I come back to this a lot because the overall magnetism, the truth, the realness of it is there. I feel like it comes out in a live setting, especially acoustically. Like, Lane's emotions come through. You can hear in his voice, it's not going to be perfect. Lane is honestly one of the greatest vocalists of all time, but the imperfections are there. You can hear the struggling in his voice. It's haunting, it's beautiful, and I wish Lane could have stayed around longer, put out more music. And it really sucks when you see that someone so talented has to fight with their demons and ends up passing because of it. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are like, "Well, Alice in Chains isn't the same now that Lane's dead, and I'm not going to listen to him anymore." Their new stuff's incredible. I'm not as huge on their second album with William, which is "The Devil Put Dinosaur Here," but their new album, "Rain or Fog," which came out this year, fucking great. Absolutely great. And their first album, "Black Gives Way to Blue," first album with William, it's great. So Alice in Chains is still there. Jerry was the primary songwriter anyway, but I really, really recommend to listen to this. And I've definitely got some other albums in my collection I'm planning to recommend and tell why I enjoy them. I just really felt like this was a good first choice to start the series with. I've got some other choices coming up. I'm planning to definitely do Foo Fighters, The Color and the Shape. I think I may end up doing this one, Brothers Osborne, Port St. Joe. I've got probably Grace by Jeff Buckley. I've got quite a few in my collection that I'm wanting to do for this series. I just haven't decided which ones yet. But leave some comments in the comment section below on your takes on this album, your favorite Unplugged albums, your favorite Unplugged performances, whether it's just particular songs. I just want to hear about it and maybe start getting some conversations going. Hope you guys have a great day.